First comment I see in the chat from Martian Lens 33 just simply says, after watching that basketball game, pain. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers post-game show here on this Tuesday night as we get things started for the front end of a back-to-back for the Sixers alongside Derek Bodner. I'm Devon Givens with Kyle Neubeck, Brianna producing.
So you're about to call me Devon
Everybody's
Givens.
in the chat. Hey, might as well have to call in that game on the couch with us all sitting there watching it. That was a rough watch for the Sixers. Coming off a really good win on Sunday afternoon against the Dallas Mavericks. Shorthanded tonight, no Tyrese Maxey, but an opportunity after you watch the game and you see how it was playing out, leading by 8 there with about 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. A time where you looked at it in that moment where, hey, the Sixers might find a way to pull this game out. And all of a sudden, it turned and flipped on his head once again. A lot of back and forth between the two teams tonight, but it looked like at that point, the Sixers may find a way to really pull away from the Nets and just lock in a win again on the front end of the back-to-back without their all-star and Tyrese Maxey. But as it often goes for this basketball team, when things really get away from it got away from them pretty bad here tonight, and they fall to the Nets in this one by a final score of 112-107. They have the Memphis Grizzlies on their home floor on Wednesday night, so an opportunity to get back in the win column.
Memphis Grizzlies team who just beat that Nets team, the Nets, by the way, on the front end of the back-to-back.
Yes, they
for
did.
Brooklyn.
They beat the Nets on Monday night, and an opportunity for the Sixers to take care of business against the Memphis Grizzlies on Wednesday. But Kyle, this one, as we all watched it together, sitting here, and it was very, very, as you said, this one was a boring one.
So I'm just,
yes,
I got an ice cold Coors Light, everybody. I'm choosing the chiller way.
You're going to chill here tonight? Okay. All right, cool.
That was fucking awful to watch. I'm not going to dress it up. I think, look, we all kind of go in have low expectations, right? Tyrese Maxey's out. Joel Embiid's out. DeAnthony Melton is out. Robert Covington, even though he's basically not a real person in terms of the basketball team at this point. Love Rob, love seeing him, but
I mean, look, he's
been
still
out for
involved
so
in we'll call it the Frosty Freeze Out in honor of him. He's still involved in that.
I'm not disparaging Rob at all. I want him to get healthy and play again. And ostensibly, he's going to be back kind of soon based on projections. But all these guys being out, you come in and say, all right, this game means nothing. It shows us nothing. Like, if you go into this and you're like, well, Kyle Lowry can't be a lead ball handler on a good team. It's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. That's why he was signed as a buyout guy and was traded from Miami. And that's the reality of the situation. Oh, wow, Tobias Harris is inefficient as a number one guy with a bunch of – there's just a whole lot of stuff that doesn't really matter. Like, I'm not trying to be the nihilist Arby's account on Twitter that's just like life is despair, nothing matters, eat Arby's. That's kind of how I feel about this game. I might have to get a sponsor from them now. That's twice in
You mentioned them without them giving us any money. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just kind of how I felt throughout the whole game. Now, look, are there some positive things from that game? Certainly. I think Kelly Oubre, who we're critical of him on this podcast when he deserves it, but coming off of a really good performance against Dallas on Sunday, he then comes out tonight and I thought played a good and restrained game tonight. Like, it's one thing for Kelly to get hot and it's one thing for Kelly to score, but a lot of times that comes with complete blinders on, full steam ahead, all that stuff. And you're like, okay, well, he's scoring, but at what cost? It's extrapolating that season he had in Charlotte where he scored 20 points a game and people were just like, well, who cares because he's hijacking the offense, whatever. This was really good Kelly Oubre. Again, like, good decision-making, good passing, had a dunk going to his right, that's basically never happening in games for them. So he was really good. Kyle Lowry shot the ball well, campaigned despite the fact that Devon and I are laughing. He got subbed out 3 minutes into the game and he was like,
he was cooked.
He looked like if it was me out there running around with these guys, like, was obviously feeling it, but he's powering through, was sick and probably not 100% back yet. Gave it a go for the team because Tyrese is out. Like, there are these little silver linings, but, end of the day, it was like, boy, that was sure a basketball game that happened, and I will remember basically nothing from it after tonight.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we get on this show after a loss, and there will be people in the chat that want to read into it. And I'm glad you sort of let off with it, because you can't read anything into this game. When you're out Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, you're just trying to find a way to desperately, like we talked about, getting at the minimum 8 to 10 of these 23. You're just trying to find a way to get one of them, steal one, because this Nets team, yeah, they've now won 4 out of 6, but coming into that, they had lost 7 out of 8. They're not playing great basketball. Just find any way to steal one. And through 3.5 quarters, it looked like you had a real chance. But in terms of, extending that out and trying to read anything into it, like, to your point, Kyle Lowry was your best perimeter creator. You're not going to win many games like that.
When you start Kyle Lowry and Campaign next to one another in the backcourt, and both those guys played reasonably well.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to Lowry later. Campaign played well.
This was a game where Kyle Lowry was making decisions like Kelly Oubre, and Kelly Oubre was making decisions like Kyle Lowry. And I don't really know how to analyze any of that. To your point, though, Kelly, a lot of times will have 20 points on questionable shots and turn the ball over and not really create for others. He had a bounce pass to KJ Martin that I almost fell off from my chair for.
It's a beautiful pass.
This was one of the best games he's played all season. Does that mean that I'm expecting it to happen tomorrow night? No, but it was a very good game. I'm happy that he had it. You can't lose the Kelly Oubre game, but he really did. Like sometimes he will get 20 points and the shots will be questionable, but he's talented enough for him to go in. I thought he took advantage of the mismatches that he had. I thought for the most part, the shots that he did took, what he take? 20 shots. They were in rhythm. There were maybe 1 or 2 that I would quibble with, including one that he made, which was a pretty early shot clock 3. But for the most part, he was forced to create a lot, and I thought he did a pretty good job. That might be just about all of the positive that I have to say about this game. Like, it wasn't a very good game, but he certainly made a couple threes, but I thought he was real bad on defense. You say the same thing about Campaign, who, again, was a real spark offensively, but the Sixers were beat time and time again, especially by Schroder, but really by pretty much anyone the Nets tried to create off the dribble. The Sixers' perimeter defenders were just shredded. It was a tough watch, and you expect that when you see that Tyrese Maxey is going to be out, but having to live through it, yeah, it was a tough watch.
And for me, the overarching thing is, yeah, there were some positive things to take out, as you guys talked about. But for me, as we were watching this, and I'm also paying attention to the Orlando Magic, who are right there with the Sixers, who have won now 4 games in a row and have jumped to the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference. And I was looking at that because they were tied after the Nets win. And should the Sixers have won this game, they still would have been a half game up. And while it may seem meaningless, Derek, you talked about trying to find the 8 to 10 in that 23 of the stretch of games, that this one was, even though Tyrese Maxey was out and we come in and we think this one is probably going to be a close one that would lead to a loss, as we watched it, they were in it. And you have to find a way to dig deep and get this one and not make the mistakes that we talk about. Kyle Lowry making some mistakes later, some tough shots. Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry taking a tough shot over Nick Claxton, going against the shot clock, albeit, but not putting yourself in that position to do so. And some really bad shot attempts down the stretch where it was about 4 minutes where the game was still in question of who's going to win it. So for me, again, the Sixers, again, still 21 games left on the season. They fall to the 7th seed right now in the play-in in the Eastern Conference, but you have to find a way to dig in and get these wins. Yes, they may win and beat the Memphis Grizzlies, the 21-win Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow night on the second night of a back-to-back. But the first part that you do is take care of this one that was in front of you.
You also can't take that game for granted tomorrow.
And then you can't take that one for granted tomorrow, and you come away with this when you win 2 games in a row. Maybe you feel, okay, dig a little deeper and let's take 3 in a row now and let's beat this Memphis team and get this W. But this one, they let this one drop, and they still have plenty of time with 21 games to play. But they have the Knicks twice coming up here on the road. The schedule that we've talked about so much, and with Tyrese Maxey dealing with a concussion, a mild concussion, and the symptoms, probably not. I think they've already ruled him out for tomorrow.
Extraordinarily unlikely he would be able to be.
He's not going to. He may not play tomorrow either. So whenever he's out, Embiid is out, Melton is out, you have to take one that's in front of you that you can get. Brooklyn played Memphis on Monday, so it's the second night of their back-to-back. and they needed to find a way to win this one. Cam Johnson went out in the first quarter because he had an ankle injury. He didn't come back, and you had Dorian Finney-Smith knocking down threes, can't defend the perimeter late. You had to win this game. So while we will talk about the positive things that happened, this one for me, as hard as it was to watch, in the end, while we may say snooze fest and Z's and pain and all that, you still get the W and say we walked away with the win.
100%.
Oh no! Don't get me wrong. When I say like you can't like take anything away from this in terms of
Oh no,
evaluating the team,
I wasn't doing
I'm
that.
not saying it wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't disappointing.
Yeah.
It was a huge missed opportunity that they let slip away. And to your point, with Maxey likely out tomorrow, a back-to-back, you can't take anything for granted. Like back-to-back's nonsense basketball, especially when you're down 3 starters.
Well, look, like
that's going
Memphis,
to be a tough one.
Memphis is a team that has shown, especially when if a team is shorthanded or a team shows up and they're like not ready to play, those guys play hard. There's a lot of like young, hungry guys on that team, guys who either just earned their NBA deals or are trying to earn their NBA deals. It's a big proving ground team
This
right
season
now.
is going for them.
So that
Yes,
like,
they are playing.
These games mean something for them, not because they're going to make the playoffs or they're doing something of note. It's because these guys are fighting for their NBA lives. So like, you can't show up tomorrow with any kind of BS attitude. And like, I don't think this was not tonight. I didn't see things that were like, oh, it's poor effort or it's, you know, like it just
There might
looks
be a
like
little focus, like lack of focus passing a little bit.
Yeah, the passing, the bad turnovers. And when we get to Lowry, I'll get into some decision-making stuff. But I'll bring up a point that I've said on the show before. Like the value of stealing a game like they did against Dallas is that you win the ones that you should win and that you're supposed to win. And a lot of people rightfully pointing out in the chat tonight, like, we can sit here and say, oh, they didn't have anyone and whatever, and like the game doesn't matter. But Mikal Bridges didn't play that well. Cam Johnson barely played in this game. I mean, you were getting blown apart by Lonnie Walker, Dennis Schroder, Dorian Finney-Smith. Like that was not a team who it was like, hey, best players are firing on all cylinders. And like if Mikal comes out and he has a 30-point game and he has a good shooting game and you just say, well, he was the best player on the floor tonight. Like,
No,
okay. Like
future Sixer Mikal Bridges tried to throw you a game and you wouldn't even take it.
right. So like
Do you a solid.
that would at least give them an out as a group. And so that to me, if I was going to try to like get mad or have emotion about that game from a fan perspective, that's it, right? Like this is a game there for the taking. You still only end up losing by 5 points. Like there were moments down the stretch. Game probably could have swung either way. I think that what were they up like 8 points at one point in the
8
second
points
half,
in the fourth
14
quarter.
in the first half.
14 in the first half, 8 in the fourth quarter with about 8 and some change to play.
yeah, and like that's against this team with the guys they had available, the way they were playing. Like I don't know, man. You got to find a way to put that away. So,
After they went on that 92-84 was their lead, Brooklyn responded with an 11-0 run after that 8-point advantage that they had at the 8:45 mark. So that right there, again, that's not necessarily the game because they're still, again, 8:45 to play, and this is a game of runs. These things happen. You have to respond. But that's an 11-0 run right there, and some bad decisions in there with shot attempts, turnovers, etc. That can't happen. And just to be clear, I'm going to make an excuse. You heard his wrist last night in his hand, and that's why it was taped up. I didn't think he was going to play, but he has the streak and stuff. Pardon me. I figured he would play. I didn't think he would play 38 minutes, and you could see that he was deferring and not shooting. Or I know he was deferring and not shooting. I didn't think he was going to play as many minutes as he did tonight. And last night after he hurt his hand, he shot some really ugly shots. And I was like, all right, dude, you might want to go sit down. But that game was
park
in
your
question.
ass on the bench,
Yeah,
buddy.
But tonight it didn't hurt them all that much because they did find a way to come back and win. And so that's fact. That's not making up any excuses for him. When he plays poorly, I'll say he plays poorly. He did not shoot the ball well. Part of that was because of the fact that he had that bad wrist, and I didn't think he was going to play as much as he did.
Yeah, and unfortunately, outside of him in that starting lineup, they all had very hyper efficient nights.
Yeah.
Schroeder 7 for 12, Claxton 6 for 8, Dorian Finney-Smith 8 for 11. Cam Johnson only played 8 minutes, took 4 shots, but he made 2 of them. So like.
And Finney-Smith knocked down 4 of 7 threes. I've watched so many Nets games where people would leave him open to shoot 3-pointers, and he shot it very efficiently tonight.
So
This one was tough. Again, as I started it while saying you had a great win on Sunday, you follow it up with an opportunity to win, even with Tyrese Maxey off the floor. As you said it, when you have a really good win like that one, you have to follow it up with a winnable game to take that W, especially up 8. You may not win by 8, but you win the game and not let an 11-0 run really dictate how the rest of the fourth quarter was going to go for you to lose it. That being said, we have to talk about some of the bad things when we get back here, talking about Lowry and some of the other things that happened. But we also want to tell you about one of our newest sponsors here on the show, on the PHLY
The very newest one.
Sixers podcast. And, of course, tonight on the post game, got to tell you about our good friends, Manscaped. Yes, starting to get warm outside and you're saying, hey, look, you don't want to sweat too much. And not only, of course, up here on your top of your neck and back and forehead and all that stuff, but hey, you also don't want to sweat in some other areas either, because you never know what you might wind up doing in that particular day with a special someone. And if that is what you may do, you have to go with our friends from Manscaped. Yes, Manscaped this year, don't just chase rainbows with St. Patrick's Day and your shamrock shapers here with Manscaped. Don't just chase rainbows. Make your own pot of gold and groom your little leprechaun with the leaders in below the kilt care. Say goodbye to your clover
I would love to see Devon in a kilt. That would be,
have any of you guys worn a kilt?
Lower, no, I have not. Lawn
I had a cousin who
mower
played
maybe for
bagpipes.
Halloween.
5.0, and let your confidence shine bright. Don't be ashamed out there. Let that confidence shine bright. Embrace the luck of the Irish and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com and use code PHLY for $20 off plus free shipping. We had someone in our chat earlier in the year when I first got back to join the guys. They would tell me my laptop was too close and I needed to move it towards the knee area and not leave it back where I was. Well, you know what? Because you don't want to mess up those in the lower regions. Ever since I've begun to use Manscaped, I can proudly say I found my pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Yes. Meet your new lucky charm for St. Patrick's Day, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. The trimmer comes with 2 interchangeable new
Not the Ultra.
next gen skin-safe blade heads. Yes, one for classic trim and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Equipped with dual LED spotlights. You need the lights, folks, to make sure you see what you're navigating around your shamrock. Patch in peace. Right. Worry, you'll make a mess. Don't worry. Fear not. This wonder is waterproof, shaped by the misty moors under a waterfall or even during a rain dance. If you want a rain dance, you have at it. Its compact case makes it an ideal companion, ready for any adventure or last-minute plans. Whether you're sculpting your beard or cleaning up your neckline, there are always the right tools for the job. Trimming the hedges in your Irish garden isn't just for the below the belt. Complete your look with Manscaped's signature beard hedger pro kit plus handyman electric face shaver. See, for your face as well. That's why I mentioned the neckline, and they're always right tools for the job. So get 20% off and free shipping with code PHLY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code PHLY at manscaped.com. That's this St. Patrick's Day. Make sure your little or big, I don't know, hairy leprechaun is luckier than ever with Manscaped.
Devon talking about his Irish garden really just sent me over the edge.
Hey,
but listen,
great sponsor. We love Manscaped.
Listen,
I'll get you guys some Manscaped.
when I have to hear Devon talk about his Irish garden and his little leprechauns, I know that I have to find a better way and a chiller way. And that's why when I walk out of here tonight, not only am I going to drink this ice cold Coors Light, I'm going to probably have another one on the way out. And you can choose chill by reaching for an ice cold Coors Light yourself. And with Coors Light, you know you're getting an ice cold beer because those Rocky Mountains turn blue. You can see the blue on the can all the way from over there, all the way at home for you guys. And look, guys, I know in the summertime, as it gets warmer out, we had some 60-degree days recently, starting to make me think of the spring and going to the beach and all that. And I know when I come out of the ocean and I see my backpack that I'm not supposed to have booze in, I can reach in there and get an ice cold Coors Light. And I know it's cold before it hits my hands because of the blue Rocky Mountains, which I love. Love that. And Coors Light is cold layered, cold filtered, cold packaged for a smooth finish. It is mountain cold refreshment. So even though the state of Colorado, every single time I try to tweet, comes at me, and they did so once again this week, you guys can't stop me from choosing chill with a crisp and refreshing Coors Light. When you choose chill and choose to rise above it all, choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
All right, welcome back here on this rainy Tuesday night. Well, it was rainy when we got in here. And, of course, the Sixers did not help us tonight. And don't forget to make sure, before you go to bed, get your Manscaped on and check them out. That said,
A little bedtime manscaping.
Little bedtime Manscaped. You want to go smooth, clean, smooth and clean, smooth and clean. All right, let's go back to the Sixers. They did post 5 players in double figures as they dropped 107 on this Brooklyn Nets team. 112, 18 for Tobias Harris. We'll talk about him. He shot 50%, but there were some down the stretch moments where we were like, Tobias, you've been having a good game. Let's not point that one out there late in the game. That part of why you lose this one. You do get 29 points from your backcourt of Campaign and Kyle Lowry, 13 from Buddy Hield. And I kind of want to start there because he was 3 for 9, 2 for 3, made all 5 of his free throw attempts, 13 points in 27 minutes and 38 seconds, and only had 1 foul. So he wasn't in foul trouble, but for whatever reason, again, Derek, it just seemed like right now, for what we saw in those first 5 to 6 games where we were really singing his praises for the things that he was doing, not only with his scoring, but his playmaking and, of course, his shooting, right now it seems like a bit of a struggle, even with someone like Tyrese Maxey out, and we expect maybe him to step up a little bit in that role.
Yeah, I think this is why we were probably a little muted on Buddy in the first 3 or 4 games when sort of the fan base was going wild because Buddy was playing over his head, and you knew there was going to be a slump coming. He's not a perfect player. He's relatively limited overall, and his defense can be a problem, and it might be a problem in the playoffs. We'll see how that works out. But when his shot's not, I don't even want to say when he's not making, because he was making shots today. But when there aren't a lot of opportunities created for him, there's only so much he's going to do night to night on a basketball court. And part of the benefit is that nobody really leaves him. So that leaves cutting lanes open, that leaves driving lanes open, that leaves rolling lanes open for Paul Reed. But when your best perimeter creator is Kyle Lowry, even that, it's just there's not very many ways they're going to exploit that. So his shooting, his spacing, his gravity isn't going to be as impactful when you have nobody to really take advantage of that space. And the Sixers are so low right now on creators. I don't really, to me, my issue with Buddy isn't the 13 points because I do think he becomes less impactful when you have fewer shot creators on the floor. My issue is that when you have nights like this where he only gets up 9 shots in 28 minutes, his defensive flaws really start to, I think, become shown. And that, again, is why he was available for 3 second-round picks. That's why a playoff team like Indy is willing to let him go. He's not perfect. He's not as good as he was in the first 4 games. I still believe in his archetype and what he's going to be able to provide when Maxey and Embiid come back, specifically when Embiid comes back. But there are going to be tough nights like this, and I don't even really want to say a slump because he made his shots tonight, but he's going to have these periods over the course of the regular season, especially when you're shorthanded, where you're going to be underwhelmed at times. And I think that's sort of where we are. Like I said, I believe more in the archetype and the skill set next to Embiid than I do necessarily in him as a impact player. He's going to be streaky, not because the shot's necessarily streaky, just there's fewer ways to take advantage of it when Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid are all out.
By the way, Miami-Detroit went final. And Miami won, so the Sixers are now officially the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference and in the play-in as much as it means anything right now with 21 games left, 21 games left. So just wanted to make note of that while we're talking about this. On the Buddy front, a couple of things jump out to me. One, I just think they need to do some more design stuff for him. Like one of his made threes tonight came on a Doughton screen where he's a curl from the backside, gets a good catch and shoot look. Need to see more of that rather than, and this is the other piece, a lot of what Buddy does is the screen slipping or just outright ghost screens where he's coming across the top and brushing the guy who's at the point of attack. So normally that'd be Tyrese Maxey. Tonight it's Kyle Lowry. And I think you can see the difference because normally you're put in a tough spot. It's Buddy and a guy who can beat you off the dribble. Well, if you over pursue Buddy or you blow the switch, Tyrese Maxey, or in the past in Indiana, Tyrese Halliburton, they're going to get to the rim or they're going to find an opening. They're going to find a way to score. They're going to draw a foul. And they're going to prey on that moment of indecision. If you blow the switch in a different way and Buddy gets left open for any amount of time, that's a real quick, me to you type pass. Buddy rises up and shoots and you get a quality look. Whether he makes it or not is immaterial. It's good offense. Well, when it's Kyle Lowry or it's Campaign, all that matters is the switch, because as long as you keep somebody attached to Buddy, you are not worried about Campaign blowing by somebody. And you're really not worried, as much as I think Lowry is a good fit with the full version of this team, you are not worried about Kyle Lowry going by somebody off the dribble and getting to the rim. That's not who he is anymore. He's a valuable player as a connective passer. He can do some probing as a dribbler, but he is not someone that's going by people. And so some of Buddy's utility is getting eaten into there. And that dovetails with Derek's point, which is that when he's not a high-level offensive player, you do have to zoom in on, okay, what is he doing defensively? What are his off-ball reads like? Is his awareness good? Is he holding up in one-on-one situations? And while there were decent stretches for him, like I thought he had a nice moment as a low man. They forced a turnover out of it, had a run out. That was really the only play that jumped out in a positive way defensively. I don't know if the answer is to do more of the stuff they did prior to the break when Tobias is out and you let him run offense. He can do some pick and rolls and different things, but yeah, he's been in a bad spot, and to Derek's point that he made, in a different way tonight, where the efficiency was decent from three. He didn't shoot well overall, didn't finish at the basket, but they got to find ways to tap into, because him shooting 3 threes in a game
not enough.
Is just not enough. And that's true for a bunch of guys on this roster, like Tobias taking 3 threes. We've bitched about 100 times that he doesn't shoot enough. They got to get the volume up somehow. I know that it's tougher, one, without Joel Embiid, two, certainly without Tyrese Maxey, when you don't have somebody drawing attention, drawing doubles, sucking guys in the paint. But they got to find some way to get more threes up when you're down as many guys as they are.
I'm sure that'd be a point of emphasis for game on Wednesday against Memphis. But one of the points of your brush screen with Buddy Hield was, I remember late, and we kind of mentioned it as it happened. He was coming across, the point guard was at the top, and it really was a brush. He just basically, it was like a tag, and he went to the left side, but no switch occurred. To Kyle's point, where at that point, if Kyle Lowry or Campaign are not going to go by their man, then you just basically did just a little more cardio to run to that spot.
It really was a cardio game tonight.
That's what it was, yeah. So those things have to be tightened up, and they have to correct that, because, again, if Maxey is not playing tomorrow, which is going to be tough, then they're going to have to figure out different ways to get him some open looks. He had a tough fadeaway where they had a really bad stretch of Harris had a bad fadeaway. Lowry, who we'll get to, had a bad fadeaway. Buddy Hield had a bad fadeaway mid-range too. These are makeable type of shots, but they kind of left themselves in that area to only do that, and they were some really tough shots there. So they have to find a way to get them going, and certainly Maxey makes a big difference. Harris playing well, and when you have Lowry playing a little better than he did tonight, like he did on Sunday afternoon, then Buddy Hield will look better out there on the floor with what they're doing. So have to get him going, though. Definitely have to get him going. And we will get to Kyle Lowry in a second, because there's a lot to talk about for what happened tonight, or what did not happen tonight with Kyle Lowry. But, we'll get to that.
And Kaz mentions Batum going 1 for 6 didn't help. Yeah, I feel like in every recap I've written recently and every post-game show we've done, at some point I've said Well, Batum just needs to shoot better. Like we were joking tonight. Some of those misses were not even close. Like, barely touching the rim. Yeah. So I do think the only good thing with Batum is that he was moving okay. So he got into a passing lane tonight, blocked a shot on the perimeter. There's some decent stuff that happened.
He looked like because the first couple games back, he looked like he was struggling to change direction, change speeds. He did look better physically. He got off a couple of threes that were pretty quick release, like the no dip threes that you like seeing. They just got to go in the basket.
Need them.
They do. It helps.
All right.
But if you're stressed out about Nick Batum maybe not playing like he was, one thing you shouldn't be stressed out is getting tickets. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. GameTime is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. And the GameTime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. It's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. With GameTime, you get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And you can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. With the tickets sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And we also want to tell you about our takeover that's about to happen, this time with the Flyers gang. Yes, Charlie and Bill and the PHLY hockey diehards, they're going to be at the center on March 14th as the Flyers take on the Toronto Maple Leafs in an Eastern Conference showdown. Yes, takeover ticket includes pregame meetup with the PHLY crew and a game ticket in the assembly room to enjoy the game with the other diehards. Check out all of our upcoming events at allphly.com under the events calendar. Follow our PHLY Phillies team for details on opening day as well. And again, when you do become a diehard, you get a lot of perks there, podcasts, live shows on every team every day, post-game shows, premium written content from these guys here, Charlie, Bill,
Nothing premium after that game, unfortunately.
Zach.
But the rest of the time, absolutely.
Yes, and all of that at allphly.com. 20% off of events, dope merchandise for all teams, free shirt when you become a member, or a hat. You get to choose either one. A members-only Discord that I am now in, folks. Yes,
that's
the
right.
PHLY
We bullied them properly.
Lounge, but you go
when
ahead.
When was the last time you
sign
commented?
up for the card. Last Tuesday, a week ago today. Go get him, Rick, who did not get any minutes tonight. Come on, Nick. What's going on, man? You get the new kid in there. Got to give Rick some of those minutes. But hey, once again, join Charlie, Bill, and the other PHLY hockey diehards at the center on March 14th as the Flyers take on the Toronto Maple Leafs in an Eastern Conference showdown.
I will point out, bullying Devon did work to get him on the Discord.
Bullying works a lot of the time.
Now we have to bully Devon to make him participate in the Discord.
Yeah, I don't fold under peer pressure.
Baby steps.
You did join. You did join.
No, I was being a team player.
Okay, before we hit some super chats at the end of this show, the Lowry piece.
Yeah.
So obviously shot well, 4 for 7 from 3, 5 of 9 from the field. Had a couple just like audacious pull-up threes. There's one he was basically at the logo that I said to Devon at one point, I was like, Pat Bev wouldn't even like think about taking that shot, let alone taking it. And that's not trying to rain on Pat Bev or anything, but just you're seeing the difference between how Lowry approaches the game and what he can bring offensively. Now, that being said, between the one hilariously bad turnover he had a travel at half court also in the first half, and a couple of the dumbest fouls that a player of his intelligence level has probably ever committed. The one that really drove me nuts, and I wrote about it in the recap, where he was upset. They had another turnover in the backcourt. I think he probably thought he got fouled or tripped, and ball squirts away and goes to Brooklyn. And because he's pissed, he runs over, and I think it was Nick Claxton, and he puts two hands on his back as he's already about to score and takes a foul that has absolutely no impact on the shot, gets the N1, and then he continues to bitch to the officials. And it's like, dude, this is the kind of dumb stuff that I expect from, who had a good game, Kelly Oubre. As Derek said earlier, it was like a real Freaky Friday situation where Kyle Lowry's doing Kelly Oubre stuff and Kelly Oubre's playing like Kyle Lowry. So he is probably going to get a pass for this just because he has the long history and resume of being Mr. Little Things, and he's a super smart, intelligent player, all that stuff. That was a just downright catastrophic defensive outing from him, and I thought it was the exact mirror image of the game that he had in Dallas, where he couldn't hit anything, but it was like, oh man, that guy was one of the best players on the floor. This game, he hit a ton of shots, and I was like, what the hell is this bozo doing? So I don't suspect you're going to see a lot of games like that for him, but not his finest hour. We'll put it that way.
And he'll probably bounce back tomorrow, as you said, to your point of he's, bad one today. And the 95-94 Nets had the lead at half court. That's where he turned the basketball over, and it was a really bad pass. And Dennis Smith Jr. goes the other way and does a 360 dunk, because that's how much space he had ahead of him to do that one. He fouled Dennis Schroder on a three-pointer, and they got into an argument, double tech, which was a weak double tech by the officials, by the way. But yeah, he had a bad one. He had a bad game here. He had 3 turnovers, which didn't seem like a lot when you look at the amount of minutes that he played, how much he had to handle the basketball, because campaign were in and out. They had to play their new guy, the two-way guy, Jeff Doughton, just to give them some minutes to break up some stuff, give campaign a breather, and not have Kyle Lowry play all those minutes and be the only ball handler out there. But those 3 turnovers, 2 of them right there were really bad. And that's where you look at totally different game from what he played on Sunday when we were singing his praises, helping them lead to that win.
Yeah, so we don't need to pile on, but
No.
it is what it is. He wasn't good. Time for the super chats. Yeah?
Let's get to the super chats.
All right. First one from Devon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, who says, same thing Nurse did versus the Mavs in the fourth. Let Ricky walk so he can turn into Jeremy Grant or Isaiah Joe for a different team. Might be putting the cart before the horse there on Ricky in general, and we still don't know what the plan is for whether they're going to convert him or not. I was certainly a little surprised he didn't play tonight, and I thought it was interesting that Jeff Doughton, who Nick was obviously familiar with from their time together in Toronto and liked quite a bit, and I saw praised when he was asked about it after signing here, but I'm not going to read too far into it yet. It's one game where they're banged up and they need a guard play. I would also say if Doughton is more of a guard and has guard skills, one of the things that has led them to success lately, multiple guards on the floor, multiple ball handlers, being able to play Tyrese and Kyle Lowry. Now, I don't know that I would give Doughton the benefit of the doubt to say, hey, let's put him in that same category, and they need more ball handling. So we'll see what happens there. But
Well, I was a little surprised that Doughton got in. It was more of, okay, if you're going to go with another ball handler, yes, we've seen Turk really struggle in moments, in spots, trying to bring the ball up and get through the offense and all. I was a little surprised that he got the nod over Turk Smith in this particular game for this one, just to see how it would work. And Doughton's minutes weren't awful, but it was just more of, oh, okay, he got the nod before Turk Smith did. And as far as Ricky goes for this particular game, yes, you just needed the extra body, and then you also see where sometimes they're lagging a bit with some of their energy was good overall, but hey, they may need a little spark, and that spark comes from maybe KJ Martin getting the dunk there, or some other play, that the big shot that Kyle Lowry makes about 35 feet away from the basket up against the clock, that Pat Beverly not only wouldn't take, but probably doesn't have the range to get a good shot off like that to make it. But I thought, again, Ricky might get the call here tonight, front end of a back-to-back. But maybe that just means we'll see him tomorrow against a more athletic and lengthy team, where he might call his number for that one.
Yeah, it's weird. On the one hand, I thought KJ played okay.
Just that one miss he had, he should have made it right there at the cup.
But in a game where you have to go small for a lot because Mo was in foul trouble and pretty horrible before then anyway, it would have been nice to have seen just some energy, some rebounding, someone to get to the free throw line and attack the rim. I would have liked to have seen Ricky. I'd like to see Ricky play almost every game, but especially on a night like tonight where you're so shorthanded and you need a small player to play bigger, up a few positions. Yeah, I don't love him not playing.
See what happens there. All right, next one from Cannoli. Heard the Sixers can only pay Kelly Oubre 120% of his current salary. Does that mean unlikely re-signing since another team will give him mid-level exception?
So, not true. First of all, they can use cap space to sign him if they want. Then they can use their mid-level, whether that's the room mid-level or the non-taxpayer mid-level, depending on who they renounce. But they can the room mid-level would be around $5 million per year. So basically, they can renounce their guys, sign someone with cap space, then they would have a $5 to $6 million, I forget exactly what it is, starting salary, room mid-level exception that you can use to sign somebody else. That could be Kelly if they choose to. Like I said, or they can just use cap space, or if they don't renounce all those guys and they're never go below the cap, then they can just use their standard mid-level exception. But they would have to use an exception or cap space. That's true. Because 120%, as much as I am down on Kelly, 120% of the minimum is probably not going to be what it takes to get it done. That being said, if he's making a significant, let's put it this way, I would be less enthusiastic to be in on Kelly's next contract than I was on the minimum deal he's currently playing on. I would be very, very worried about that next contract.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think
worried.
this is probably another show, another day, way later in the year, but I am kind of curious what the market will be for Kelly, because even though he's on a minimum deal and the expectations have been set here as a result of that, and so nights like this feel really good, ultimately we've been on the Kelly Oubre roller coaster this whole season, right? Like there have been weeks at a time where we just sit here and are like, man, I can't watch that guy anymore. And then he has 2 games like he just did back to back, and you say, oh, I can fix him. They can fix him. They can do it. So I don't know.
That being said, like I don't think he's getting much more than $5 million starting salary. Like even if they use go the cap space route, they only have the room mid level. I don't think he's going to make more, because I don't think he's fundamentally changed the narrative around him, and the narrative around him only got him a minimum deal. So I don't think this is really something you have to worry about. That being said, if it is something you have to worry about, then I wouldn't want to be in on Kelly's next contract. So I wouldn't worry about it too much either way. But answering the question, they can use cap space or they can use one of their mid levels to get around that.
All right, let's get to our final super chat. Liam Stevens checking in. Does the loss tonight make for positive 21 Joel Embiid news?
Liam, I love the spin zone on this. You have a future in political PR if you ever choose to go that route, but I don't think the two are related. First of all, I'm just hoping we get news at all. I know the Sixers said in 4 weeks, but with them,
tomorrow is technically 4 weeks, right?
Tomorrow is 4 weeks to the day from surgery.
Well, according to Devon, it has been 2 months because you always say January 7th.
If we can fast forward that, then yes, that would be great.
So the 6th is exactly a month. It would be nice. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Sixers, to get a formal update on Joel. I will say, at least, I feel like we've been mostly in tune with what's going on with Joel. It helped to talk to him individually. That was great. We got a sense of where he's at. Now this is the next step. Like, hey, are we going to hear the word ramping up or ramp? Or
of course we are.
Tony Hawk or Bob Burnquist, go through a list of skateboarders. I don't know, but I would like to hear something, just even a tiny morsel from the Sixers. Tomorrow, we shall see. It will be vague as always if they actually do say anything.
I would love to, maybe an all-season show. I would love to see how many skateboarders Kyle can name.
Let's see. Bucky Lasik, Rude Glifberg. Why am I forgetting the guy who invented the Jeff Mullen? I'm just going through all the old Tony Hawk guys.
Okay.
Anybody that was in Kareem Campbell, the street skating legend. I almost forgot him.
Were they in his video game?
Yes. I'm just naming anybody who was, and Kareem Campbell is who I used to play as in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, because I loved to. he was a big, because he's a street skater, and I think he's either New York or LA, maybe LA.
I know none but Tony Hawk. So there's that.
Kareem Campbell was a big street skating guy, so a lot of grinds, manuals, things of that nature. And I was never a skateboarder, but I love those video games. So this is kind of stolen valor. Oh, he's from Harlem, New York. That's where Kareem's from.
All right, so we had the Memphis Grizzlies coming into town, 21-41. They are 7-24 on the road. Last win they had was against Brooklyn on Monday, so they're waiting for the Sixers. Jaren Jackson did not play in that game on Monday against Brooklyn. Here we are getting ready to watch them host this team, and we know they've been banged up all season. Started with the John Morant stuff, and Desmond Bane going down. Jaren Jackson maybe missing some. Marcus Smart hurt. This team is, as we talked about earlier, just a lot of young guys trying to prove themselves and find their way into the league. What are you expecting? Second night of a back-to-back for the Sixers tomorrow.
Not expecting much.
Don't know.
Well, usually the games do not get more well played on a second night, and given how sloppy some of the passes were today and some of the defensive decision-making was today, you expect maybe some of that sloppiness along with tired legs and three-point shots coming up short. It could be ugly.
Might be a no recap game for me. We shall see, though.
They beat the Cavs on the second night of a back-to-back.
They
They started the second half of the season after the All-Star break, lose to New York, beat Cleveland the next night.
The NBA is very weird, and March is the weirdest month of the entire season. So
going back to how Devon Schroder started this one, they could really use picking up one of these here because it gets pretty tough. And I know New York is banged up, but they've got a couple against the Knicks, they've got the Pelicans, they've got the Bucks, they've got the Heat coming up, and then they've got a really
those
tough.
New York games are critical too because they can't lose one if they even want to split the season series.
Well, and then they go on a West Coast road trip that's really tough. This schedule picks up real quickly. You've got a little bit here against the Grizzlies and a banged up Knicks squad, but it's going to get tough again real quickly.
Knicks lost tonight, 116-100.
These winnable ones, one or two against the Knicks, like Kyle said, because of the season series, you would like both of those. The one against the Grizzlies, you've got the Hornets coming up. Any one where you have a chance, you have to be able to steal that one because it is going to be slim pickings.
Tonight would have been a good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, gang.
Let's get to the folks.
Thank you, as always, for all our people coming out. We got Jay the Jungle, Liam Stevens, Eugene G. Ross, Money Marr, Winona, Martian Lynch, who's talking about nothing but
what up,
pain.
Martian?
Pain is the key word for Martian tonight. Alex McElroy, we got Prophet One, Brandon Downer. I think we're all downers tonight. Kaz, who shouted out Chad Muska, another pro skater. And by the way, Spirit 42, I'm shouting you out. He said he's making up people, referring to me naming not characters, they're real people who were also characters in the Tony Hawk games.
Spirit 42.
I promise you, if you go and look at the roster of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, or just look those people up on Wikipedia, they are all real people as far as I know. Did we have Al in here tonight? Did Al take the night off?
I don't know.
I don't remember seeing him.
I don't know if I've seen him. 2-minute warning, Al. This is our APB for you. I don't know. Aaron was here. Canoli was here.
What up, Aaron?
Davon was here. Kyle Wright was here. We had Barbara Carroll here.
What up, Barb?
Who are our other super chatters and I'm forgetting right now?
What up, Gene?
Liam Stevens was also in here tonight. Gang, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell icon to get notifications each and every time we go live.
Gene rung the bell.
And if you hit the thumbs up, hopefully the Sixers will wake up tomorrow. Tyrese Maxey will be free of his concussion symptoms, and we will all get a better basketball game to watch. Either way, we'll be here after Sixers-Grizzlies. We'll see you then.
Absolutely.
We all silly like the mayor.